know what honestly really, really, truly that just pisses me the fuck off is somebody who grew up, born in the 70s, lived through the 80s, lived through the 90s, was promised, said the Pledge of Allegiance every fucking day, joined the fucking army, said my pledge, and I honestly believed in my heart that this country was fucking getting better. And I was not one of these conspiracy people. I was actually one of those people who actually did believe in my government and thought that my government might give a fuck about the people that live here. I don't know. I don't recognize it here. This ain't it. I don't know what the fuck this is, but this was not what we were promised. The delivery is not there. You basically handed it to the fucking KKK. That's where it is. I don't know what the fuck to do with that. I don't. I honestly don't.
Shalom. First, let's start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakadash. Double honors to Jesus, the apostle of great millstone, likewise brothers for this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep unto brothers and sisters. Tuning in, Shalom, today's lesson title. It shall destroy you, even with sore destruction. Let's start off with our first scripture. This is the book of Psalms 20, starting verse 7. It reads, Some trust in chariots, and some in horses. But we will remember the name of the Lord, our power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. Say, Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, let the King hear us when we call. Now you saw in that opening clip here that destroyed what looks to be like an Edomite. You know, clearly he's distraught, unhappy with the way things are going here in Great Babylon, America. Okay, and you know, unlike the hopefully lack of Yasharala Israel, so-called blacks, the Americans, Latinos, and Hispanic, okay, they are struggling in their minds of what went wrong, what is going on, why is it that things are not operating in the way it has been, you know, all their lives, you know, where if you go to school, you get a job, if you're a so-called white man, woman, okay, you automatically get a job because that's your entitlement. Okay, if you're everybody else, you struggle and, you know, you constantly walk, okay, in the shadows of the so-called white people. Here it is right now. What these Edomites, these so-called white people are seeing is that it's not going well for them, okay, and they're very frustrated. But what they don't understand is they're trusting, okay, in man. We are trusting in the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. In fact, let's go into Psalms 146 and 3. It reads, Put not your trust in princes, nor in the Son of Man, in whom there is no help. If you were to go and look at some of the archive videos of many of the brothers, you know, from, say, 2020, okay, those videos that still exist because they were pulling down the channels like crazy during the C-19 shutdown, you know, you hear brothers bring out the prophecies that, you know, the future king of Babylon, America, which is the current king of Great Babylon, America, Donald J. Trump, okay, he is going to bring down this place, okay, if he's re-elected. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So it has been foretold that this place is in a spiral, okay, downfall, okay, that the Lord Yahweh Shai is visiting this place. And these people, you know, mirth is going to go into tears and mourning and groaning, okay? So they didn't listen, okay, or they didn't think that something like this could happen. And despite the fact that you have YouTube, you know, deleting videos and trying to keep these people in that, you know, hopeful spirit, which is part of the way this devil works, okay, nonetheless, okay, the word has been out there, and there's those that actually hearken to that. In fact, let's go into Luke 12 and verse 27. It reads, Consider the lilies how they grow. They toil not, they spin not, and yet I say unto you, that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then power so clothe the grass, which is today in the field, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? So we have to have faith that in this time where things is going to get tough, okay, you know, the return of Yahushua is imminent. World War III is imminent. The MOTB, is imminent. Chaos and crisis is imminent. We have to have the faith in Yahweh Shai that He's going to provide for us, okay? Because we do live here in Great Babylon, America, okay? Continue on, it says, and seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nation of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that you have need of these things. Didn't the scripture talk about the fact that, my servants will eat while others are crying? Okay, my servants will drink while others are thirsty. My servants will be, in a spirit of joy while others, their mirth is gone and they're hollering and screaming and hooting. Okay, so here it is right now. We with a heavy spirit, dealing with a whole lot of issues. You have fight amongst the brothers. You have the people out there who are unbelievers. They're coming at you. You're dealing with your personal issues, all kinds of things right now. So you're not in that state of mirth. Okay, you're in that in a house of mourning, because you understand that all of this is taking place because the Lord Yahweh Shai is the one that's controlling it, and we just have to endure. Continuing on, it says, but rather seek ye the kingdom of power, and all these things should be added unto you. And that is the difference between us and people like the man that you see in this video crying and mourning and groaning, and he represents a whole lot of people out there. Now let's take a quick look at this video that I'm going to show you. And this what looks to be an Eve, she's going to speak about what is happening to veterans. Now when you think about veterans, okay, you think of them as people who have dedicated their lives or given their lives, okay, to serving this nation in its military force, okay. And so there's usually certain benefits that comes with being a so-called veteran. But nonetheless, you can see here in this clip that I'm going to show you that veterans are not immune, okay, to falling on hard times. Even though they might have done their best, to be responsible financially, all of the promise that this man makes usually falls through. So take a look at this video.
Imagine risking your life for your country, then losing your home when you come back. Over 10,000 veterans have lost their homes since May of last year due to foreclosure. See, one of the biggest benefits of serving in the military is getting that VA home loan. It's supposed to be one of the most safest, reliable ways for a veteran to buy a home. Now, during the pandemic, there was this program that allowed veterans to skip payments if they were having some issues, but then they changed it. And then veterans were expected to pay all of that money from all those payments they hadn't been making. They were expected to make those payments right away. And when they couldn't, well, they lost their home to foreclosure. Now, elected officials were trying to fix it, but Republicans in Congress said, well, that costs too much. So instead of fixing it, the Trump administration shut it down completely. So now, over 10,000 veterans have lost their homes, and another 90,000 veterans stand to lose their homes too, because they're already behind in mortgage payments or currently in the process of foreclosure. These are people who risk their life for their country, only to come home and be told, you on your own. So if you're a veteran, are you impacted by this? Because if so, I think Americans deserve to hear your story.
And as you saw in that video, okay, she was going into that. You think, well, you give up your life, you go over there, you fight, for this country, and you wave the flag, you wear the uniform proudly, they should be looking out for you, but that's not the case, okay? And again, when you put your trust in man or these princes and what they promise you, this is what's going to happen, okay? Let's go into the book of Psalms 10 and start in verse 8, because this is a clear cut, okay, of basically, putting the poor in traps, okay? And a lot of Jakes are veterans. It reads, he sitteth in the lurking places in the villages, in the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lied in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lied in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him in his net. Let's stop right there for a second, because what that net is, the promises, okay? Special rates, special loan rates, special discounts, Okay, and veterans take out these loans, and you can usually take out the loan and not have to put a lot of money down. Okay, when you take out a VA loan. Okay, the same thing too. If you are a veteran or you serve in the military, you get something called post 9/11. You can get something called the Montgomery GI Bill. Okay, but those come with a lot of stipulation. Okay, there's nothing is free. Let's put it that way. Okay, nothing is free. And what is happening right now, a lot of veterans, they are disabled, they have mental issues, they have the scars of war, from multiple deployments or from being experimented on in the military because, part of your career is to get injected monthly with these, medicine or vaccination, okay, in order to keep your job, okay? And those of you who served in our veterans, okay, like myself, then you would know what I'm talking about. Okay, but what has happened? They're being ignored right now. They're falling into that trap of the government is going to take care of me and not understanding you have a tyrant that doesn't give two shits about you. I'll close it out. It says, he crouched and humbled himself that the poor may fall by his strong ones. How many times we've seen these elected officials, presidents, stand up there waving the flag and talk about how powerful the military is and how great their service members are, who are also veterans on active duty or in the reserves, and who eventually will become veterans out here. And as they age, they will fall into the same hard times like what these veterans are experiencing. On this next clip, okay, you are going to hear this person speak about, again, this is talking about, what happens with vets and people that, assume that they're going to be taken care of because after all, they dedicated their lives to this nation. So why shouldn't they be taken care of? Okay, you're going to see that their trust, okay, is betrayed. So take a look at it.
I want to tell you about a Marine who was wounded in Afghanistan. He came home with PTSD and had a brain injury. His family lived out of a trailer for 6 months while they waited for his disability paperwork to clear. They finally got back on their feet. They bought a house. Their son started at the elementary school across the street. For the first time in years, they felt stable. Last week, someone knocked on their front door and told them it was time to leave. Here's what happened. Like millions of Americans during COVID, this family used a mortgage forbearance program. That's a legal government-backed option that their lender told them would defer payments until the end of their loan. And then they got trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare. They weren't allowed to make payments. They weren't offered any real help. They were told to just keep applying for assistance that sadly never came. By early 2025, the VA had a rescue program up and running. It was called VASP, and it had already given more than 33,000 veterans new mortgages at 2.5% interest. It was working. But then on May 1st of last year, the Trump administration killed it. 1 week's notice, no replacement was ready. The mortgage industry warned explicitly at a congressional hearing, in fact, that without a replacement program, veterans would lose their homes. The Trump administration did it anyway. Since then, more than 10,000 veterans have lost their homes to foreclosure. It's the highest rate in a decade. Another 90,000, unfortunately, are heading in that same direction right now. That wounded Marine's family, the VA owns their house now. The only offer that the Marine's family got was $3,500 to vacate by April 3rd. So, look, this is such a sad situation. I've fought for veterans in Congress since the day I was sworn in, and I'm telling you, what this administration is doing to these families is a betrayal. You don't get to wrap yourself in the flag and then evict the people who serve for the country. So I'm going to keep pushing the VA to stand up a replacement program immediately, halt foreclosures for these families until that replacement program is ready, because this is a total disgrace and these families can't get strung along any longer.
Now you saw what he said in that clip. Okay, let's go into the scriptures. This is the book of Ecclesiastes 13 and verse 6. And I like to bring this out because this is a clear-cut, case of being used, so to speak. Okay, it says, if he have a need of thee, he will receive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair and say, what wantest thou? So let's look at that, how that works in respect to the service. Okay, they promise you, job stability, travel, paycheck, free medical, care. You'll get like special, you know, um, loans, like the VA loans, so to speak. You get all of these things. So this is all of those things. If they need you to sign up, they give you all those bonuses and all those things, and you get the uniform. You're proud. You get thank you for your service, all kinds of things. Okay, and they know that you want that. You want to be recognized. You want to be seen as someone that's how do I want to say it? That's patriotic, so to speak. Okay, and serving in the military at one point in time in this nation was very a special thing. Okay, you were somebody if you did that. All right, but then what happens? Okay, let's go into Ecclesiasticus 12 and verse 17. It reads, "If adversity come upon thee, you're falling behind. Okay, things ain't going as it is. Keep in mind from Psalms. Okay, this man, he sets up legislations, and all of it is to trap the poor. Okay, he all of a sudden, they're cutting off these benefits. They're cutting off, the ability for people to actually live. Okay, and this creates adversity. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Yeah, they're making the rules. And though he pretend to help thee, okay, we're gonna look at it again. We're gonna change it over. Maybe now we're gonna do this and do that. But then first you need to go through all of these red tapes. Okay, but we're helping you. Yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head, clap his hand, and whisper much, and change his countenance. He's gonna be like, you know what? We're in debt. We need to focus more on the people that are actually active duty right now. You guys, yeah, you did your service and all that stuff, but we need to put the money over here. The big beautiful bill is going to go to support our current war, our current people who are serving. The ones that we have a need for right now that can profit us. They're putting their lives on the line. So you guys, our husband yesterday, good luck to you. And that's how it is. This is how the devil operates. And this is why we make it very clear to you that you can only trust Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You can only trust Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. That's it. You can't trust no man, no woman, not even yourself. Lord willing, the elect myself, I'd like to close up by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Shalom.
Now I'm sitting here wasting my time. I just don't know what I should do. It's a tragedy for me to see the dream is over, and I never will forget